In this week's video, I am breaking my own rules. I said a long time ago that for something to be a proper timeline, there had to be at least 3 movies, and if there was only 2, I was going to call it a mini timeline. But this week is something special. Longtime viewers know that my favorite film of all time is Jaws, and I have a particular love of Jaws knockoffs, and there are 2 that I think are legitimately great. One of these is Orca, and the other is just about to celebrate its 40th anniversary, and that movie is 1980's Alligator, which was released on November 14th of that year. So we're pretty much like right on the 40-year mark here. I love this film so very much, so we're going to talk about it and its sequel, and for a video this special, you never know who might show up. We kick off back in 1980 with the original Alligator, which starts off back in 1968, as the TV says it's at the same time as the 68 Democratic Convention, as we see an urban legend come to life as a baby alligator gets flushed into the sewers. I don't know if you know this, but this was actually a genuine concern at one point. We jump to 12 years later, so we're set in real-time 1980 here, and we meet the late, great Robert Forster, a police officer investigating the death of a sewer worker named Norton. Get it? And a secret lab that's testing on animals and dumping the bodies in the sewers. That little gator has apparently been eating them, so of course he's now grown quite a bit, and we finally meet him. Hey, speaking of meeting people, we then meet Marissa, played by the very lovely Robin Riker.
Hey, Josh. Hey. Hi. Yeah, it's me, the lovely Robin Riker.
Oh my God, it's the star of Alligator. And like 100 other things, it's Robin Riker.
Well, it's nice to be out of the storm drain, I have to tell you that, because for my first feature film, you know, everybody thinks Hollywood is all glamour and everything like that. Well, the first feature film I did, I spent much of the shoot in galoshes in the storm drains of Los Angeles. So it wasn't quite the, the fabulous sort of bright, shiny thing that we think, but it was great fun.
Well, it's a great movie to have as your first film, and so much has happened since then. I mean, I know I'm really happy that you got out of that trophy in Sunnydale. Oh, and you're an author now, right? You have a book out.
Yes, I do. It's called A Survivor's Guide to Hollywood: How to Play the Game Without Losing Your Soul. Can I show it to you?
Yes, please.
That's the thing. I'm very happy to have written it. I was invited back to speak to some students at a university, and I thought, what the hell am I going to tell these theater people? They've just been studying theater history and craft and all of that. So I sat down at my mother-in-law's table and I said, well, I could tell them what it's like to actually live the life of an artist. How you get through. Everybody has a great time when they're working and making money and all that. It's the downtime that you really have to learn how to manage. So that's what the book is about.
Well, I for one am really glad that you are here to commemorate this film's 40th anniversary, which is a huge achievement considering that you would have made this movie when you were negative 15 years old.
I was, God love you. There'll be a little something extra in your paycheck.
Marissa is a herpetologist, and she teams up with David and of course gives him the puppy dog eyes, while they send in SWAT teams to get the gator. We find out that the alligator in the beginning was hers.
And then I come in to fix the issue.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. When I've been asked about the movie in the past, they said, well, it's just like Jaws, and I'm Richard Dreyfuss. Only Richard Dreyfuss did not introduce the shark to everybody. But apparently my father, who was tired of the alligator pooping behind the toilet, decided that it needed to go elsewhere.
And dude straight up bursts out of the sidewalk. And you know, re-watching this movie, the effects really, they hold up.
I was impressed, but I have to tell you, there was a period very early on in filming when I got to see some dailies that I went, oh, oh dear, because they did the alligator in parts, like the head and then the tail they would do differently sometimes. And I remember watching a scene where I think it takes place in the sewer, where the tail comes and swipes Perry Lang and sends him flying, or maybe it was Robert, I don't know, but it sends him flying. And so it was just it's two guys, there's a giant alligator tail and a big stick in the middle of it, and they go whoosh like this, and then the tail hits the guy, hits Perry, I think it is, hits Perry, and then it just sits there and goes yoing, 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 yoing. And I went, oh no, oh dear, they're going to, hopefully. And of course they did. They were expert at trimming it and making it look right. But I was a little nervous. They're like, oh, please. Because as you said, the rest of the film I thought was good. It was really good. And the writing was good. John Sayles, of course, so.
You can't go wrong with an Oscar-winning screenwriter.
We then get a series of fantastic effect shots with a full-size alligator on shrunken down sets, and a big game hunter comes in and makes these sounds. They hunt down the gator while the head of the corrupt lab preps his future son-in-law for the wedding and gets a little creepy.
My number one toy, yes, sir.
While David and Marissa get a little closer themselves. Oh, and then the scene that legitimately scarred me as a child happens. Quint.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brock gets chomped.
And David and Marissa break up. And then get back together again.
And the first time that I ever met you, I told you that I loved Alligator, and you told me about one of your favorite lines in the movie.
That was an ad lib. when Robert Forster comes over to my mother's apartment to see if I'll go with him to, find the alligator. And he's definitely coming on to me, and he's right up against me. I'm trying to take him into my room to talk so we can talk, because my mother's a loon. And and he says, so will you come with me? And as we disappear in the bedroom, I go, well, we'll see. So.
Are you going to come with me?
Well, we'll see.
Well, we'll see.
While Chief Clark basically has an aneurysm every time that he talks.
Just let me know when the state troopers are ready. Come on, will you? Okay, now, get me whatever's available and get it up to Shady Point by the Slade Mansion.
Oh, Michael Gazzo. Oh, Michael, I loved Michael. I can't believe the number of classic actors. Mm-hmm. It was my first movie, but Michael Gazzo was in, been in The Godfather, and Sue Lyon was Lolita, and Henry Silva, who was the Great White Hunter who and eventually tries to kill the alligator, had been, in film and television for decades. And I was the new kid, and it was wonderful. It was just wonderful.
The big guy crashes the big wedding, making a big mess, eating the groom, who was coincidentally the guy who created the formula that created the alligator in the first place. The mayor goes down too, as does the evil CEO, although I don't know what this car in particular did to piss off Ramon this much. And then...
Come on, man, the alligator's coming. You've got to let us in.
Let us in. The alligator's coming. I was trained in Shakespeare. Okay, so having to say something so on the nose, and it just was, but I had to do it, and I did it, and the paycheck cleared, so that's good.
David confronts it in a sewer with a bomb, and in the nick of time, blows him up.
And can I just say that this ending, with that whole spinning aerial shot as he's coming up out of the sewer, and you got the counter ticking down as the bomb is about to go off, and you're in the car trying to drive away, and it still holds up as being just such a tense, exciting, awesome scene.
Oh, I'm so glad you think so. And as you were describing it, I just got chills a little bit.
And I didn't say this earlier, but how about Robert Forster?
He's wonderful in it. It was so... he became a friend. We didn't see each other all the time, but he was a lovely man and a very good kisser.
Yep.
And so sweet. And last night was I don't know when this will be seen, but last night was the Emmys of 2020, the TV Emmys. And when they had the in memoriam aspect and his face came up, it just, I thought, oh my goodness.
Everything wraps up all cozy, but people keep flushing those damn gators.
One last thing that I will say about the movie is there's a genuine attention to characters and detail, like the recurring bit with Robert and his hair.
He just had hair plugs. He had just had them like months before or something. Yeah. And so he knew that it was going to be noticed, and he was not going to try to dodge it in any kind of way. And so he made reference to it, which I think it's always good. Don't you think it's always better if there's something that somebody can make fun of you about, if you make fun of it first, then the power of, teasing is taken away.
They didn't make a follow-up until 11 years later with 1991's Alligator II, The Mutation.
I feel betrayed.
Which starts with some shady sewer dumping, of course, Steve rails back, and some immediate alligator action. Joseph Bologna is our cop hero here, and his wife is Dee Wallace Stone, who has always just been Horace's favorite mom, I guess. And we're still in LA, possibly overlooking the same lake as the original? So David is married to Christine, who works at a lab at a school, and he's a cop named David. So it's weird because it's like they're supposed to be the same characters, but they're also not, I guess. But when there's murders that look like alligator bites, there's no mention of a previous incident, so I guess it's just a coincidence?
What is 2 about this? What is 2?
Speaking of coincidences, a corrupt businessman involved with the experiments is in bed with the mayor, and it kind of feels more like a remake than a sequel.
It should be Alligator again, I mean, oh my God, they didn't. Who's supposed to have been in charge of writing that?
And then Richard Lynch shows up as the big game hunter kind of character.
Yes, there's even a hunter character again.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hollywood is such a whore.
With Jason Voorhees right behind him. Big Green makes short work of the crew, and there are, I guess, some differences. The mayor has remorse and is killed by evil Vinny instead of being eaten, and instead of a wedding, the big dude attacks a local carnival. Vinny gets munched, as does Hawk, because has Richard Lynch ever survived a movie? They finally confront it with a rocket launcher and really nonchalantly just blow it up. There's no date in this one, so we're gonna go ahead with Real Time 91, and I guess you could call it the same universe, but it's more likely a separate continuity.
So there you have it, 2 movies that are not really connected in any way, shape, or form. One of them is great, and the other one not so much. Although Alligator 2 it's not terrible. I've seen a lot worse killer alligator movies. Robin, any other last stories about Alligator?
Bryan Cranston was a PA on the movie.
Okay, this I need to hear.
Yeah, and I didn't know him. He was, if I was on the set, I was working, and he was helping things happen. I heard that because we were wearing hip waders when we were in the storm drains with suspenders and stuff, there were all sorts of fantasy things going on among the men in the crew. Even though you were just wearing jeans and hip waders, it looked kind of like, in that environment, it looks as close to nylons and a garter belt as you get. And, but the lovely thing about Bryan, who is a lovely person, I didn't know that he was a PA on it until I ended up doing an episode of Malcolm in the Middle and working with him. And he was so sweet, and he told me about it, and he said he'd had a crush on me. And then even nicer than that, I was doing a soap opera or something, and there was an Emmy party, and I went to the party, and Bryan was there with his crew, and he invited me to sit down, and his producers and everybody were there, and he told the story about that he met me on my first movie, and then, you know, it's just he's such a lovely person. It really made me very, very happy to reconnect with him and learn that.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and celebrating Alligator's 40th anniversary with me. And you have some great stuff happening right now, right?
Yeah, I do, I'm happy to say, and thank you for having me, Josh. I appreciate it. I can't believe that it's this anniversary of the movie. But as I said, I think, as we mentioned earlier, I do have a book, and if anybody wants an autographed copy of it, they can go to robinriker.com. And I did a film with someone very close to you, called Psycho Granny, which runs all the time. It was such a fun part. I read the opening scene and I said, if any of the rest of the movie is like this, I want to do it. So it's running on Hulu, it's running on Lifetime, it's running on YouTube. You can see it everywhere. I should get a nickel pretty soon for all of that. We'll see. And I also have a series, an 8-episode series on a streaming platform called PureFlix, and it's a show called Mood Swings, and it's kind of like a modern day Golden Girls.
Well, thank you again for coming on, and I want you guys at home to let us know what you think of Alligator, and does it deserve more praise than it gets? Tell us in the comments. Give Robin some love down here and share this video out to the world. Subscribe if you haven't already, and please check out my Patreon page if you can. These guys are my patrons. They help support this channel. You guys can too. You can also just support this channel by watching these videos and sharing them out so other people can watch them as well. I appreciate it. Robin, thank you once more for coming to visit me, and thank you guys, and we'll see you again very shortly for another great video. Bye-bye.